certainly been a while, hasn't it? So I noticed the other day it's been about 3 months since I've made a video for you guys. At least made an actual review. With me coming back to actual reviews, I decided to come back big. And what better way to kick off a big comeback than with one of the biggest boys in my collection, Power the Prime's Abominus. So the way we're going to go about this guy is doing each individual team member and then doing the combined form all together. Before we even get into the actual team themselves, I want to take a minute to talk about these things. These are the equivalent of the hand-foot guns from Combiner Wars. These pieces act as hands or heel supports. They're okay for what they are. They're not great. The Prime Armor gimmick is kinda stupid, but I'm just letting you guys know about these now. That way I don't ever have to talk about them again. Kicking the team off right, we have Hunger, leader of the Terracons, and if I'm gonna be honest, he's probably the worst offender when it comes to the stickers. Modern day Transformer stickers have been basically garbage. They're foil sealed, they're not very good, they're just terrible overall. Hunger is easily the worst offender of stickers on this team. He's got really crappy foil stickers on his thighs here that are already starting to peel, crappy Decepticon stickers here on both shoulders, and he's got 2 on each of the little dragon legs in the back. They don't stick out that much other than maybe the 2 Decepticon ones here. And I like the rub sign design, but if it was tampographed on there, it'd be much better looking. As for robot mode, Hunger is actually a really decent little transformer. He's got a head swivel, really nice articulated shoulders that ratchet both outwards and forward and back. Wrists are static, just because of the way he transforms. His legs are alright. They're not as ratcheted as I would have liked them to be, or at least as much as the shoulders are. Double jointed knee, and he's got even a little bit of ankle articulation right here. A little bit of spoilers for the transformation, but if you take up Hunger's tailpiece, push the spikes down, and fold it down onto his chest, it pushes out the spikes that are on his chest, and I just think that's a really cool engineering design, just to get something from looking like one thing to another. Oh yeah, and he can also throw Cutthroat around like a little bitch. His robot mode is not terrible, but let's go ahead and get to the dragon mode. Maybe some of you might change your mind. Yeah, the dragon mode is... Look, let's be honest. Hunger's G1 dragon mode was never something to stare at in awe anyways. So really this one's job is to just be an updated version of the old one, and it does a very good job at that. The dragon mode, although short and kind of stumpy with a very small tail. The back legs have all of the articulation as the arms from robot mode, so it carries that over. Front legs are just on pins. But once you get to the front of the dragon, this is where all the fun really is. The dragon heads carry over the same articulation as the legs, so you know, like the thigh swivel and rotation and all that. But it works so well for getting such organic poses out of these 2 dragon heads. You know, you can really make this thing look alive with just some of the poses. Hunger also comes with some accessories. These shoulder-mounted cannons, I guess. They're obviously Abominus's feet, but they're meant to be Hunger's weapons. You know, I really wish he came with like a regular gun or something like that, but I understand why. To be honest, these don't look bad as shoulder-mounted cannons. A little short maybe, and with a weird peg on top. Along with his 2 cannons, he comes with a Enigma of Combination, which looks really, really nice and is very well painted. Moving on to the next guy in the team, we have Center Twin. Now, Center Twin was always my favorite of the Terracons, simply because I had the G1 toy growing up and he was really the only one that, you know, I knew of till I got Cutthroat. And I was really looking forward to this guy because he's, you know, he's my favorite. I think he's got the most unique color scheme out of the team. I think he's got the best alternate mode out of the entire team. But when I got this guy in hand, he's nothing very special. I mean, he's not bad by any means. He's actually a really good toy. For a retool of Dinobot Snarl, this is a really invigorating idea. But just look at him. He looks so bland. And if it wasn't for the dragon legs on on the sides of his thighs, you couldn't tell what he turns into. He literally just looks like a basic little Cybertronian guy. Unlike Hunger, this guy actually has Tampographed Decepticon logos. He's only got the one, and it's in a really dark, like, rub sign area. His head is all cubic and stern, but at the same time, he's got very lumptuous lips and a very prominent nose. Articulation's pretty good. You know, you've got the head on a ball joint here, forwards and back, and elbows go about 90 degrees. No wrists though, unless you want to fold them inwards, which I guess you could for some poses. You know, your typical waist, knee goes about 90. That's about it in robot mode. There's really nothing else to say. Maybe take his gun and give him a arm-mounted cannon? Okay, so robot mode's a little bland, but wait until you see this. Aw, there he is, baby. Sinner Twin's Dragon mode has always been my favorite, simply because he's basically a two-headed dog. And it's such an accurate representation to G1. I really like the color scheme, the purple horns, the red eyes. You know, everything just on this guy works for me. If I had to pick a nitpick, it would be the bottom of the necks. I love how they gave the head's articulation, but if you lift him up too far, it looks like he kind of cut his throat open. So, Sinner Twin overall, he's definitely nothing special in robot mode. He literally just looks like he could be any character. But beast mode is really where it's at for him. And just like that, we go from the biggest to the blandest to the worst. This is Cutthroat, who I had as a kid and I really enjoyed. And he was announced at, I think it was New York Comic Con. You know, I thought he looked okay. I thought he looked really good for a retool of Swoop. But in hand, he is just not the best. I don't know if you can see it here, but I've already lost the purple fin on his robot chicken head, simply because nothing is pegged in. It's all friction based when it comes to this head hinge. So if you go to lift it up too much, it comes right off. At least Swoop's head was pinned into his chest. If you try to put it back on, it might take a few minutes. Feels like you're gonna break the toy whenever you mess with the robot chest head chicken thing. That being said though, the rest of him is pretty okay. You've got the Scramble City style head, which, to be honest, I could have used a little bit more expression on him. Articulation's the same as Swoop. I like the way the wings are different from Swoop's though. They're not round, they're more angled. Just like Sinner Twin, instead of having stickers, he has actual tampograpphs on his thighs, knees, chicken beak. His claws are painted too. So color-wise, this guy's beautiful. Just build-wise, on the headpiece, it's not very good. Let's get him to chicken mode. Transformation on this guy is basically Swoop from the top half up, but the legs kind of do the aerial bot thing where they split apart and condense a little bit higher up, plus with the little tail that folds out at the end. I really like this monster mode. You know, I think this is imposing. I think it's a great idea for a retool of Swoop. Cutthroat was never my favorite Terracon, and his robot mode and the issues with his chicken head certainly cement him in my least favorite out of this team. But it's an A for effort. Good job, I guess. Not much else I can say about it. Moving on to the second best figure in this team, we have Ripper Snapper. Now, Ripper Snapper is a very, very good figure. He's basically an aerial bot with Wolverine claws. What's not to like? And yes, I know the aerial bot transformation got boring after Combiner Wars, but just to see that transformation reimagined for a character who was very out of the blue, you know, I really think it's a good idea. Paint scheme on this guy is fantastic. You've got the bright colored face, really nice paint scheme on the chest. Again, no stickers, which is a fantastic plus. He's got shoulder-mounted cannons, and the ability to cosplay as a fishman. You know, after the same transformation 7 or 8 times over the course of 3 different waves, you think I'd get bored of this transformation. But no, to be honest, this is probably my favorite use of this transformation. The only complaints that I would make about it is sometimes the tail doesn't tab in together. Even then, it's not that big of a deal. I wish the arms kind of did something different. I just wish there was that little bit more to it that kind of made it a little bit special, other than a twist, and oh, I'm finished. Again, G1 Rippersnapper's monster mode was never something to stare at in awe, because it was literally just a stick with legs. This guy really does it justice, in a good way. Overall, Rippersnapper is very, very good. I really enjoy this figure. Easily my second favorite out of the bunch. Last, but certainly not least, because he is definitely my favorite, we have Blot. Now, Blot was like the last figure I expected to like so much in this line. You know, he's always the one that I forgot his name to, but after this figure, I'm probably not gonna ever forget his name again. Easily the best figure in the team. He's got so much expression, it's just great. His face, although silver and red like most of the others, it's got expression to it. It's not just monotone, it's more like a grunzled kind of look. He's got the Wolverine claws that kind of carried over from Rippersnapper, except he does something better with them. You flip in the wrist and it folds out a third claw to make it like a claw hand. I love these stupid arm things, man. They just allow for such good posing options. And if you really wanted to give him some articulation, you can close the thumb a little bit, you know, wrap it around a figure's head or something. Wonderful tampagraphs here on the chest, and the paint on this guy is just wonderful, especially on his backpack, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Alright, enough gushing over the robot mode. Let's get to the real treat of this figure. This toy just never ceases to amaze me. You wouldn't think it'd be anything special. He literally just folds himself into a backwards ball and flips his backpack and legs down. But it's just so much fun to do. It just feels very invigorating when you're doing it. You're like, how is this gonna work? And then you do it and you're like, holy crap. Here we have his troll mode, but to be honest, it's a nose monster. It will always be a nose monster. The arms do this weird transformation thing where they fold out just a smidge, but it does so much to change the proportions on this guy. It brings the shoulders up from like up here to way down here. The only other thing I could ask for from this monster mode is if he had actual, you know, monster knees. But he's got ankles, so I guess that works. And yeah, his head may be just a tad bit exposed from the back, but at the same time, you don't really care, because it's Blot, and nobody really cared about Blot until now. It's even got this dedicated 5mm port up here to mount a gun on either side, but you can do this really with any weapon you choose to. You can do it with this one, you can do it with Rippersnappers, you can even do it with Hunger's cannons. Blot is easily my favorite out of the team, probably the best deluxe by far that I've had out of Power of the Primes. So now that we've taken a look at everybody in their individual robot modes and monster modes, let's get to the big stuff. Combining these together is your standard Combiner Wars affair, but man, is it worth it. I mean, just look at this guy. He's monstrous, he's imposing, he's exactly how I pictured a G1 Abominus to look, you know, because I never had one. But he's not exactly perfect. One of the biggest issues I have with him is his legs. Hunger's arms might be really good in robot mode, but in combined mode, they they can't hold up anything. It's almost as if they didn't test the ratchet joint, or I don't know if this is just my copy of the toy. Little bit of a tip when combining these guys: do not use Cutthroat as a leg. The port meant for Cutthroat and the post on the foot do not compat with each other. It's way too loose. He will fall over. I had it happen. That's how I actually lost a little purple fin. Just always use him as an arm, unless your foot piece fits fine, in which case do what you'd like, but just a little bit of a heads up. Articulation on this guy is about what you'd expect from this kind of combiner. You know, the arm ratchets here go up and down, knees are used as elbows, head rotates. No waist swivel though, but that's to be expected from these type of combiners at this point. I mean, you still have all the same problems that you would with some of the other Combiner Wars toys. Like sometimes the bottom forearms don't peg together real well, or sometimes they wobble too much. I feel like this is the Abominus that we really needed. To be honest, I feel like this is really the last kind of updated G1 character that I really needed. I mean, who else is left? We've done all the combiners, well, probably besides Monstructor, but he's technically a pretender, and they're technically doing those, so I guess they might do him out of this. But to be honest, I don't need a Monstructor. I have Abominus, I've got all of my G1 combiners. I'm set, basically. I mean, I don't know where they could go from here unless they decide to revamp every... Overall, Abominus is fantastic, and he makes a wonderful addition to anybody's collection. So somebody asked me the other day on Twitter how I would rate these guys from best to worst, and it definitely would go Blot, Ripper Snapper, Sinner Twin, Hunger, and then Cutthroat. But that'll do it for this review, guys, so like, subscribe, do whatever you guys do, and I promise I do have more reviews on the way. More Power of the Primes, more Studio Series, more G1, more classic stuff, more everything, really. So I'll see you guys then. Until next time, bye-bye.